Hi, everybody. I'm Melinda Emerson, the Small Biz Lady, America's #1 small business expert. And I would like to welcome you to tonight's Small Biz Chat podcast. Today's show is all about making bold moves in your small business. And we're going to be talking about going from a marketing mess to brand success. And we're going to discuss how to get better results in your business and secure contracts after COVID. My guests tonight have some amazing insight to share. And if you've been struggling with marketing, I've got some inspiration and advice for you. If you're trying to determine whether to go big or go home, you're in the right place. And I've got a business expert here tonight who's going to tell us how to prepare your business to secure corporate contracts and scale. The Small Biz Chat podcast is a peer-to-peer interview show that gives small business owners a way to get invaluable business insights. Our mission is to end small business failure. The Small Biz Chat live broadcast can be seen on my Facebook page, YouTube channel, and we're always streaming on Twitter as well. The goal of the Small Biz Chat podcast is to give our small business audience an opportunity to hear sage advice and grow your business and take it to the next level. Tonight's guests are thought leader and entrepreneur Scott Miller. He was a marketing mess, and now he's going to help all of us become powerful brands. Then we're going to be talking with Jane Bolin, and she's going to share her inspirational story about all of the bold moves that she's made in her career and her business. And we're going to close out our show with author Kathey Porter, and she's going to give us all the skinny on how to secure corporate contracts. Now it's time for me to introduce my first guest. I got to say, he's a repeat guest. Mr. Scott Jeffrey Miller currently serves as Franklin Covey's senior advisor on thought leadership. He's the host of the Franklin Covey sponsored Leadership with Scott Miller, the world's largest and fastest growing leadership podcast. He's also the author of the award-winning Multivitamin Mess to Success series. And if you want more information, head over to marketingmessbook.com. Scott, I'm so excited to have you back here on the Small Biz Chat podcast.
Melinda, thank you for the invitation. Thank you for the platform, and I'm delighted to be back on.
Awesome. Well, listen, I very rarely invite people back to Small Biz Chat, but I had so much fun with you the last time you were here. And then I heard a rumor that you had a new book out, so I just jumped at the chance to have you back. So how you doing? What's going on?
You know, I'm doing well. The three boys are home from school for a summer vacation. You know, I have three sons with my wife, Stephanie, that are 6, 9, and 11. They all have my personality to her horror. So there's a lot going on in the Miller house this summertime.
Awesome. All right. I don't know. I mean, I feel like you might be part Jamaican because you got like a book dropping every 3 to 4 months, like from now until like, I don't know, what is it, 2016 or 2017 or something? What, are you getting any sleep, man? Like, how are you doing all of this work? Talk to me about your process, and then we're going to start talking about your new book.
You know, Melinda, one of the things I've learned is that what separates the successful from the less successful is they're just willing to do what the less successful aren't willing to do. So I like to work hard. I also know my rhythm. I know my cadence, right? Which is my peak is 4 a.m. to about 10:30 a.m. And then I go into a bit of a trough, and I'm at kind of a bit of a, not as productive, between about 10:30 and 2. Then I have a bit of a recovery from about 2 to 5. And then I'm asleep at 9:30 every night. Like, our house is a morgue from 9:30 to 4 a.m. So my most productive time is 4 a.m. to about 8 a.m. I'm writing. I'm writing columns and books and such. So I think it's important to know how to align your day with your own energy circadian cycle. And I do that pretty effectively. And so I'm fairly productive as a result. And yes, I sleep. The best I can, I sleep between 9:30 and 4 a.m. like a log.
Wow. I just, starting to work some more at 9:30, but that is interesting. So tell me about, you're a fairly new entrepreneur, right? You had a 25-year career with Franklin Covey and rose up through the ranks to chief marketing officer. And I really kind of want you to tell everyone a little bit about what your transition has been like from, being a corporate guy to having to kill for your dinner. I mean, what has that been like for you?
Well, fortunately for me, I had a long runway. The CEO and the board were very gracious on my exit, and they set me up for success. And I had planned this for some time. Like anybody that's making a transition out of a career and an organization to your own venture, you got to have it kind of ticked and tied, right? And have yourself a fairly long runway. I also had a lot of champions and mentors and coaches that were helping me. But you're right. As you're an executive in a public company, I had a fairly large group of people. I was empowered to have a large group execute on my ideas, or for that matter, on their ideas as well. And now I have a team of two, me and a colleague and a couple of contractors. So I have to recalibrate my expectations that I have more ideas than there is capacity to execute. So I've had to scale back and, kind of go deeper on less things. Yes, I've got a lot of books going on, but I've had to summon an unnatural level of focus and recognize that if I don't do it, it's not getting done. No longer are there 25 people or 45 people that, organizationally take their direction from me. So it's created some frustration, and I have to be more patient. But I think it's been a good discipline for me. It's probably made me a better parent as well, because my expectations are moderated a little bit.
Slightly a little bit more realistic, maybe?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So now, how do you divide things up between you and your wife? Does your wife work outside of the home, or?
No, we're blessed. We're privileged that my wife, who is highly educated and could easily exceed my income potential, we made an agreement when we were married that we wanted to have children and that we wanted her to be in the home. So by choice, she is, you might say, a homemaker. She manages all that is Miller land, and she's a whiz with the finances and very capable. But no, she's full-time at home with the boys, and I work from home and have for several years. So we have a good thing going. And yesterday she did 7 loads of laundry. She's like, can I please be on one podcast? You take 4 loads of laundry.
Yeah, I definitely was going to tell you, she works harder than you. I don't know.
No, there's no question. There's no question. And my wife is much more educated than I am and is very competent. And she's doing a great job as the primary parent for our children. But, they don't leave my side.
I follow you on Facebook. I know what you're saying. I see you with them, and I see all the stuff you do with them. So I know that you guys are a team effort, but she's definitely doing a lot of the heavy lifting. So now let's talk about your new book. Let's talk about Marketing Mess to Brand Success. What did you want to teach people with this book?
Well, so as you mentioned, I was the chief marketing officer of a global brand for 8 years, which is almost, Melinda, 3 times the national average of a CMO in a public company. And so when I left the firm, I decided to write the second in the 10 series book, Mess to Success. The first book, of course, was Management Mess to Leadership Success. The second one now is Marketing Mess. And I wanted to teach that I think too many people in marketing that have marketing careers, they kind of hide behind brand and brand equity and a lot of pet projects. And it's a chance for them to unleash their creativity. And I wanted to remind marketers that your job is revenue. Your job is business development. Your job is cash flow, profitability, and EBITDA, cash in the bank. You cannot staple brand equity to the back of a bank deposit slip and fund payroll off it. So my book it's a high courage conversation with a lot of marketers that your job is to get in the sales boat and row with them in the same direction. And so I hope it's inspirational to marketing. But I have some tough conversations around the role that I think marketing should play inside a company.
Well, how does that relate down to small business, though? Because I think it's a big company, but it's me and my 7 other compadres that work with me. But I really kind of, how do these marketing lessons trickle down to small business?
Well, they're compounded, right? I mean, as the marketing leader in a global company, I've got a multi-million-dollar budget and 45 people, and I have some latitude to make mistakes, right? Revenue can cover up a lot of unsuccessful campaigns. So I think it's compounded. In a small business, you have to be extremely deliberate around testing and showing humility and admitting when you're wrong and pivoting on a dime and changing your mind, recognizing that your idea may not work, and you have to be able to be agile intellectually. You have to admit when your idea didn't work. So I think it's compounded in small business. You don't have the same elasticity, the same latitude. You also can be in an echo chamber because you don't have as many people that are pushing back on your ideas, you can convince yourself that anything will work, and you can spend your marketing budget and have no return on it. So you have got to be enormously humble and open to other people's ability to influence you to pivot, more so in a small company than in a large marketing team. I think it's more difficult in a small company than it is in a large company, because you don't have the air cover like you do in a large enterprise.
Oh, sure. And I mean, what does every small business have, right? Limited resources and limited time. So definitely. And one of the things that I always say is that you've got to figure out that niche customer. That's really going to be key, because if you try to sell to everybody, you're really selling to nobody. But what do you think are some of the top challenges and obstacles, that marketing folks, I mean, because usually the marketer is like the business owner, right? So what do you think are some of the top mistakes or obstacles that you see in small businesses with marketing?
Well, you just hit the biggest one, and that is trying to boil the ocean. Is you think that your restaurant is for everyone and that everyone should read your book or everyone needs your product. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Seth Godin, in his book, This Is Marketing. Seth is a dear friend of mine, and he endorsed my book. He writes a chapter about your smallest viable market. And it's counterintuitive, because in business school, you're taught your total addressable market, right? What is the largest market possible? You put that on your SBA application or on your venture capital seed form. But the fact of the matter is, when you're a small business owner, or for that matter, any size company, you need to bring an unnatural focus to determine what is your smallest viable market. Quote Seth Godin, like, who is your first customer, and what is her name, and what is her circumstance, and what problem does he or she have? Then who is your second customer? We call it spear fishing, not net fishing. And I think so many of us that are entrepreneurs and small business owners were convinced that our book or our product or our service is for everyone. And in fact, it may be. But the reality is that if you pay the price to deeply understand the exact circumstance your ideal client is in, I think the goal is to have as few clients as necessary, not as many as is necessary. And that is not naturally the way most business owners think. They have ego involved, right? It's their product, their idea. They think they're going to change the world, and they go out and they try to boil the ocean, and they wonder why they have no renewals or no referrals, because they're spreading themselves too thin. Focus on spear fishing, not net fishing.
Got it. I could not agree with you more. Now, when it comes to, there's lots of marketing books out there, of course, right? You just mentioned This Is Marketing by Seth, but what do you think makes yours a little bit different? I know that you talk about sort of like these 30 marketing lessons in your book, but what do you think makes your book stand out?
I think the premise of my Mess to Success series, Melinda, as you know, is that, great leaders own their mess, because everyone's got a mess going on. And when you demonstrate the humility, the vulnerability to own your mess, you make it safe for others that work for you to own theirs as well. Not license bad behavior, but to create a culture where people can talk freely about the mistakes they made and the risks that they took. And I think it's better to teach through your mistakes than to teach through your successes. I don't have your talent. I don't look like you. I don't have your education and your interviewing skills. I can't replicate your success, but I can learn from your mistakes and avoid them. So I think what makes my book different is that it's not a look at me and my genius career. It's look at all the mistakes that I made. And can you navigate around them? Can you not say that, or don't do that, or don't put all your eggs in that basket? So my brand is the, Mess to Success guy, is to really be comfortable sharing my own marketing mistakes so that others can learn from them.
I love it. I love it. Well, listen, stay with us, Scott. We're going to go to break right now, but when we come back, we're going to find out what Scott's biggest mess was when he ran his company. I'm Melinda Emerson, the Small Biz Lady. You're watching Small Biz Chat Live, and we'll be right back.
People always ask me, how can I become my own boss? With multiple features in the New York Times, Forbes, and on ABC News as America's #1 small business expert, I know a thing or two about how to do it. Hi, I'm Melinda Emerson, Small Biz Lady, and I've been coaching small business owners since 2008. That's right. I've been helping small business owners plan for success since the last recession, and I'm still here reaching over 3 million small business owners a week online. I've spent the last 12 years compiling exactly what I did to become my own boss. I even broke it down into a 6-step system in my best-selling book, Become Your Own Boss in 12 Months. Over 100,000 people in multiple languages around the world have this book. And due to the pandemic, I know people need help. If you're ready to transition successfully from being an employee into your own business, I'm here to help. I'm giving away 1,000 copies of Become Your Own Boss in 12 Months for free. All you need to do is pay for shipping. That's right, I'm giving away 1,000 copies for free. If you've always wanted to start your dream business, let me give you a roadmap to success. This offer will only be available while supplies last, and when they're gone, they're gone. Click on the button to grab your copy today.
Welcome back to the Small Biz Chat Podcast Live. I'm here with my guest, Scott Miller, who's dropping knowledge on us about all things about going from a marketing mess to a brand success. All right, Scott, you got to tell me, what was your biggest mess in marketing?
Well, there's a couple that would compete for that, but here's a short story. I had this idea that I thought was genius to market one of our authors and put him on a global tour. His name is Stephen M.R. Covey. You know him as the author of the book, The Speed of Trust, right? He teaches organizational trust. He's an expert on being trustworthy. So I created a video card. You know, they make these cards now like a Hallmark greeting card. They can insert a little credit card size video in it for fairly cheap. And you can put 3 or 4 videos and they're kind of disposable. So I decided to make a couple thousand of these video cards where we would send them out to CEOs and have her or him sign up and come to breakfast with Stephen M.R. Covey. Well, there was one client that was a firearms manufacturer that we had targeted. So we mailed the card to them because the salesperson didn't live close enough to drop it off. Well, so we mailed the card that looks like, one of those music cards, but it has a little video screen. And before we know it, we have the ATF, the Pennsylvania police, the bomb squad and the SWAT team. They've all commandeered this video card in the mail process because they scanned it and thought it was a bomb. I didn't realize that the mail rooms at firearms manufacturers are much more sensitive. So here we are. We're on the news in Philadelphia. Fortunately, I'm calling our board of directors saying I didn't mail them a bomb. Anyway, and what's funny is that the SWAT team is opening up this package that is a video extolling the virtues of being a high trusted leader in a high trust culture, and they actually tagged it as a bomb. So the goal there is, be careful what you're putting in the mail. Sometimes it's better to drop it off, give them a call and tell them, I've sent you something, please look for it. I promise you it's safe.
Oh my gosh, that is a pretty good one.
I got a couple of doozies like that.
Oh gosh, I'm glad you have understanding boss and board. All right, so tell me, why is it so important to stay close to cash?
Well, because I think it's too often that marketers get into marketing because they're afraid to either own the P&L or own a revenue goal, or they think sales is a naughty career. And so they get off in these boondoggles. They're focused on social media or user interface or, how many likes you have or how many impressions. You cannot deposit impressions in the bank. And so it's important that every marketer deliberately and strategically attach themselves to a revenue generating project or a cost containment project, because marketing is the first that gets whacked when the economy suffers or a campaign goes south. And so if you want to build a resilient career in an organization, then you'll make sure that the CEO, the founder, your boss knows that everything you're doing is tied to either cash generation, profit, or reducing costs.
All right, that's good stuff. All right, so Scott, what was the best business advice anyone's ever given you?
I think it was probably my CEO, Bob Whitman, when he sat me down one day and he said, thinking is a legitimate business activity. I think in this fast world, we're so focused on, consuming the quiet space with podcasts and audiobooks and TV and radio. And a lot of us have a moral responsibility to watch every news channel, to be part of the democratic process, right? I know every military coup going on, every kidnapping, I know every vote in Congress, and at some point you kind of exhaust your ability to replenish yourself. I think sometimes putting your feet up on your desk, Melinda, closing the door, turning everything off, even if it's like, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, just sitting and thinking and regenerating yourself and building ideas and assessing what's working. Thinking is a legitimate business activity. Don't let anybody shame you out of it. I think that there's too many years where we've worn busy as a badge. I'm super busy. But beware of the busy leader, right? Be thoughtful and follow the person who's calm enough to gather themselves and just think. Turn off your radio, turn off your podcast, and just digest. What have you learned? What's worked? What's not working? I think you'll find that thinking is a legitimate scheduling activity on your calendar.
Well, it's interesting because I think that resting, self-care, all of this kind of stuff has now, the pandemic has made everybody pay more attention.
Yeah.
I think, and I think that's brilliant advice, and I love it. So,
and it's hard, right? Because we live in a culture where we're all kind of measured by how much we're doing, and we got to be careful to not fall victim that activity is not productivity, and we all can fall in that trap. So schedule some time to yourself to make better decisions on how to invest your time.
I love it. I love it. All right, Scott, I've got to stop you there because I've got to get to our next
Thanks,
guest.
Melinda.
But listen, hang with us. We're going to bring you back at the end of the show. But right now, we're going to go to break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about how to make big decisions in your career and your business. I'm Melinda Emerson, the Small Biz Lady. You're watching Small Biz Chat Live, and we will be right back.
Is now the right time to start a business? This is the second most frequently asked question people always ask me, along with how can I become my own boss? And they aren't wrong for asking, because right now, these are the two most important questions anyone whose job security has been recently impacted is wondering. Hi, I'm Melinda Emerson, better known as Small Biz Lady. And when it comes to small business success, I've been featured multiple times on MSNBC and CNBC and ABC News as America's #1 small business expert. Since the last recession in 2008, I have helped many small business owners plan for success, and I'm still here, reaching 3 million entrepreneurs each week online. I've created a system that will teach you exactly how to become your own boss. I broke it all down into a 6-step system in my best-selling book, Become Your Own Boss in 12 Months. It's the exact roadmap to help you successfully transition from having a job to being your own boss. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, many folks are suffering, and I want to do my part to help. I'm giving away 1,000 copies of my book for free. All you need to do is cover the shipping. If you have always wanted to start your dream business, let me give you a roadmap to success. Take advantage of my free offer while supplies last. Click the button below to grab yours before they're all gone.
Podcast, let me introduce my next guest, Jane Bolin. Jane is a successful attorney and entrepreneur, and she's the managing partner of her real estate law firm, PeytonBrolin. She is also the first female chair of the Global Governance Committee for Entrepreneurs Organization. EO is a global nonprofit dedicated to helping entrepreneurs succeed. For more information about her, you can go to PeytonBrolin.com. All right, Jane, you've got such a crazy background. I can't even go there. So not only, ladies and gentlemen, is she a lawyer, an entrepreneur, she's very heavily involved in EO. She's also the mayor in her town. So I gotta understand. Tell me how you cobbled together this amazing background in career.
Melinda, thank you for having me on the show. And I do have a bit of a Renaissance background. I think the answer to your question is really, I'm always a yes. I'm a yes to big opportunities, and so I go after them. which is a little bit of how I got to where I am now. You know, it's a strange journey when you start out as a young adult and you're working in sort of the workplace. And then what I decided to do was go to law school. But I did this after I played on the first women's professional football team. So I went to law school not to be a lawyer, but to be an NFL agent. I thought, I'm going to go fix that. Let me go and show them how women's professional football could actually be run. And then I started my first business in law school. So, I mean, I've taken every, sort of turn that they told you not to take. And so that's why I started with my answer first, which is always be, yes, go for it.
I love it. I love it. Now, just a point of privilege. I went to Virginia Tech. Did I read that you went to Radford University?
I did. I went to Radford University. I studied political science.
Oh,
and I played rugby.
Are you from Virginia? How did you get to Radford?
I am. Yeah, I'm from Northern Virginia. I was born in Korea, but grew up in Northern Virginia.
Love it, love it. All right, so
yeah.
Go Hokies, just cause.
Go Hokies.
All right. So now tell me, what drives you to keep going? I mean, I know you say yes, but you played professional women's football. You worked in television. You worked on some very successful reality shows. Then somehow you wound yourself to law school. I mean, yeah, I know you say yes, but what did you want to be? Like, I just want, what was your goal initially when you started out?
So I wanted to have a life of freedom. I think like a lot of entrepreneurs and small business owners, I wanted to be able to call the shots. And so with that, I took opportunities. When I was in law school, I asked the managing partner of the firm that I was working for to give me $25,000 to start a company. Seemed reasonable. And he said yes. So I just started down the road. And really what's compelling me today, I think, is, I've really developed myself as a leader in our community. I've worked on many boards. I lead my businesses, and I consistently work on how does it look to be a better me. And with that, I think leadership calls you. So for me, running for office was just that natural next step. Here I am leading two businesses, very successful. Clearly, government needs leadership. So I've started this brigade of how many more entrepreneurs can we get to run for office, because I think it makes a difference.
All right, but there isn't some big story behind why you decided to run for mayor of your town. Like, tell me there was some zoning law that pissed you off and you were like,
no,
I'm going to be the mayor. I'm going to fix it. I'm
Melinda,
going to become part of the system. I'm going to fix it. Tell me what happened.
Let me tell you what happened. November 9th, 2016, I woke up and hadn't paid attention to politics at all and realized that the election went the way it did. And this is not a partisan thing. This is just, wow, really didn't think that was possible. And then I was like, where are all the leaders at? And I started my journey then. I walked into my business partner's office that morning and said, I'm running for office. They said, well, Jane, what office? I said, I don't know. I'm going to go figure it out. Maybe my city. And so there isn't a big fanfare story. It was literally like, let me go learn how to lead in government, because there are skills that small business owners have, that entrepreneurs have, that are desperately needed in public policy making. And so that's why I did it. And it took me 2 years. I got elected in 2018. So it was, it takes a little bit of time, right, to get there.
So did you have to run twice, or it took you 2 years to sort of like get the momentum and like file the right paperwork to get on the ballot? Like what?
Right. So 2018 was the election when the opportunity was there, and I won by the most votes. So I got put into our leadership line. So I was a vice mayor last year, and I'm the mayor this year. But not every commissioner gets to do that. You got to win by the most votes.
Oh, okay. So it's a whole system. Interesting.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So tell me, what lessons have you learned from being mayor that have helped you be better in your business?
Oh, that's so great. So I think all business owners can relate to this. We get to call the shots. At the end of the day, I pull the levers and dials of my business. As a mayor or a commissioner, that's not what you get to do. So everybody thinks that somehow I get to direct staff. I don't get to do that. The city manager is the CEO of our city, and we are policymakers. So this is what I've learned. Influence, shaping and forming how people move forward is so valuable. Not just telling people like what to do. So that might sound, a little, whoa. But the truth is, right, as entrepreneurs, when you're running your business, you tell people what to do. And when you're in this position, you want to create consensus. You want to shape and form decisions. It's a very different skill set. And I suggest all of you consider getting into public office, because it's mutually reciprocal for a society to have you there. I promise.
Right, Jane, because I don't have enough to do. Sure. Well, listen, I think it's awesome. So tell me, I know that you have a strong belief that entrepreneurship has the power to uplift people and uplift and transform communities. And I was wondering, what kinds of things have you been able to get involved with there in Florida that you've been able to kind of see this to fruition?
Yeah, so there's a couple of spaces. So first, with Entrepreneurs Organization, I'm heavily involved in helping with both our incubator program, accelerator, and then just the organization itself through governance. But from a policy point of view, I mean, it's really about supporting the idea that entrepreneurship matters. And we call that in government business development. I mean, it's crazy. It's almost like synonymous. It's funny. But, you know, South Florida is becoming a tech corridor. Everyone's been hearing about it. There's a big boom. So looking at how can our city create spaces for incubators? How can we include incubation space in our facilities? How can we provide for our residents? Many solopreneurs start at home. I mean, I started my first business at home. So how do you provide that kind of support? And I think it's a new space for government to really be looking at how do we help entrepreneurship. And I think it's really very American. I mean, it is capitalism matters, and it's what is the engine of our country. And so supporting entrepreneurship and seeing sort of, I would say in the last 10 years, really a new acceptance for entrepreneurship. It's exciting, super exciting. So that's what I do. I keep pushing that drum and working with our business community and trying to set up as much incubation as we can.
Love it, love it. So tell me about your business, PeytonBrolin, and it's a real estate law practice. And I know you guys have been in business for how long?
So PeytonBrolin's been in business 13 years. Our title company has been 7 years. And, you know, I started that just myself and my business partner, and we grew it. So we did what a lot of entrepreneurs do. We grew it fast. We hit that Inc. 5000 in 2015. And then I was like, oh, you know what? And I think Scott said this earlier. I don't want all the clients. I want the right clients. And I also want the right staff. I don't need 100 attorneys to say that I have a successful business. I need 6 really good attorneys who know exactly how our culture works, how we support our clients, and how we change what it's like to interact with attorneys. I think that's super important. But I needed that. I needed to go through that expansion, right, to really get the feel of all of that, what that's all like, and then say, oh, scaling isn't everything. But that's just for the law firm. The title company, we're scaling away.
Love it, love it. Well, with the real estate boom, you guys ought to be like crazy right now. So tell me, you know, those skills that you have in your business, and then the skills you have as the mayor, like what has now been like the hardest thing about being the mayor and running your 2 businesses?
Ooh, so I would say the first thing is separation, right? So people want to talk to me about everything, and really it's required from an attorney-client privilege point of view to be separate, from a city point of view, public records. We are in the Sunshine State with the most transparent, you know, elected official laws in the country, in my opinion. So it's separating those things. And then honestly, it's managing all of it, right? Like I'm managing 3 major things. So I learned, I think about 10 years ago, I did productivity and performance coaching. I was coached, and then I became a coach. So I love putting things in my calendar. I live out of it. I'm very clear, and, you know, Scott will love this. I have time to think. I have time to contemplate. I have time to just be. So yes, it is, but it's still a challenge. To say it's not a challenge is totally a challenge.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I love it. I love it. Well, listen, I want to hear more, but put a pin in it. When we come right back, we're going to talk more with Jane about how you can use all of your skills to be your best every day. I'm Melinda Emerson. I'm the Small Biz Lady, and you're watching Small Biz Chat Podcast Live. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Melinda Emerson, Small Biz Lady, and I'm known as America's #1 small business expert. I know a thing or two about how to run a successful business. I've been running my own for over 20 years, and I'm often asked, how do I actually become my own boss? It starts with knowing what you want and why. Then you need to figure out how you'll fund your dream business. Next, you must research your idea and make sure you understand everything that's involved. Next, you must determine your target customer, then complete your business plan. And finally, it's time to start your business as a side hustle first, if you can. I wrote my best-selling book, Become Your Own Boss in 12 Months, to give you a roadmap to business success. And over 100,000 people in multiple languages around the world have been helped by this book. And now, to support people affected by this pandemic, I'm giving away 1,000 copies of Become Your Own Boss in 12 Months for free. All you need to do is pay the shipping and handling fees. If you're ready to turn your calling into income, claim your free copy of my book today. Don't delay. This offer is only good while supplies last. Click the button below and get yours before they're all gone.
Welcome back to the Small Biz Chat podcast. I'm Melinda Emerson, the Small Biz Lady, and I'm your host. And now I'm so excited to have with us my next guest. Her name is Kathey Porter. And Kathey is a small business strategist, supplier diversity expert, and highly sought after subject expert and collaborator as president of Porter Brown Associates. She provides management, scientific, and technical consulting for governmental agencies and corporations. Her books have been a reference guide for thousands of supplier diversity professionals and small businesses. She also has an online training program, businessfabacademy.com. And she's been a very, very long time friend of mine. So Kathey, welcome to the Small Biz Chat podcast.
Thank you so much, Melinda. Thank you for having me.
Oh, well, I just want to jump in because you are such a wealth of knowledge. So now that the world's opening back up, how easy is it to get a corporate contract?
Well, I wouldn't say that it is tremendously easy, but it's not impossible. I think every business should have an institutional acquisition strategy, an IAS. Every looking at incorporating doing business with large-scale organizations, governmental agencies, corporations as a part of their overall business strategy. This is how you scale a business quickly. This is how you grow your business. This is the difference between. So I will say with everything that's happened over the past year and the social unrest and just the heightened sensitivity towards diversity, a lot of organizations, a lot of corporations are really doubling down on their efforts to do business with a diverse group of vendors and businesses. This includes minority businesses, women-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses, small businesses, and the like. And so in order to prepare yourself, you first want to have an actual business, but really also study and look at what these institutions and what corporations might need. It doesn't make sense just to start a business and say, hey, I'm ready and I'm open for business. You also want to have something that these organizations need. And once you do the research, you'll see that these organizations, they buy billions and trillions of dollars of goods and services every single year. And so when I hear billions and trillions, that means from a strategy perspective, I can find something to sell and something to service to a customer. And so finding out exactly what they might need and where your organization might be able to supply that need. Getting certified is a great start. This helps to differentiate your business. It doesn't mean that you're guaranteed to win a contract, but it might help to open doors and open that line of communication so that you can at least get in front of the decision makers and get in front of people who are making those types of decisions.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because I got to be honest with you. I've been in business for 22 years. I probably haven't been certified as a minority and woman-owned business for maybe 5 or 6 years because no one asked me for the certification anymore. Like, I haven't been asked for it, certainly by a corporation, in probably 6 or 7 years. And I did have an opportunity to do business with the city of Philadelphia, and they made me get certified in order to do business with them. But it wasn't anything that I don't see corporations asking for these certifications as much as they once did, let's say 15 years ago.
Well, so that's twofold. So building the relationship should always be the first point of action. And that's really what you strive for, building that relationship. Once you have that relationship, then and they know who you are, they know your ability to provide service, that's when the certification may not matter as much. But when they don't know who you are, when you're going in cold, you're going in new to a new entity and trying to build that relationship, the certification helps to differentiate yourself from other vendors. I will tell you a personal story. When I'd had my firm for maybe a year. We got certified first as a veteran-owned business because at the time, that's what they were really looking for, veteran-owned businesses. And within 6 months, we won a contract that was valued at over $1 million. And they said that they called me because I was certified as a veteran-owned business. And so it doesn't always happen that way, but more likely and more often than not, now organizations are looking at and making an intentional effort to work with those firms that fall into those groups. And so having that certification helps to ensure that they're looking at you and you're at least getting that consideration.
That's a very good point. So can you talk a little bit about what is supplier diversity and why it's become like the fort du jour right now?
Well, supplier diversity in a nutshell is the diversity in supply chain and the procurement process. And so what that is just an organization, they have a supply chain, they're buying a number of goods and services, and their intentional efforts to diversify that supply chain and ensure that they have diverse vendors that fall into those categories, minority, women-owned, veteran-owned, whatever that might be, that they have an opportunity to participate in that supply chain and those procurement efforts.
Okay, so do you think that there is sort of like with all of the stuff that's happened, all this diversity inclusion, has that made supplier diversity, you think, more of a priority?
Absolutely. I think at the heart of everything that has happened over the last year, economic inclusion is right there at the forefront. And when you talk about an entree into a large organization, a multi-million-dollar, multi-billion-dollar company, you can't just knock on the door and say, hey, I want to sell you something. I want to do business with you. That supplier diversity professional is there to help you navigate that landscape and help you make the right connections so that your time from entering and interfacing and to getting to an actual contract is shortened. They're here to help you to navigate those waters because it can be very tricky. It can be a very complex process in trying to get and navigate through an organization. And the supplier diversity professional, they're there to help with that. And so they could be your first entree into an organization. They could be the person that helps you actually break through and cross that bridge and get to a contract opportunity. So absolutely, they are a very important piece to this because they help to ensure economic inclusion.
Now, prior to COVID, supplier diversity programs kind of had gotten a bad rap. Like they had started becoming these things where people would go on these websites and put in all this data, and it kind of felt a little bit like a black hole, right? And like never did they get any opportunities, but then had to keep, paying to maintain certifications. Do you think that is legit, or is it just isolated, you think?
No, I think that's an absolutely legitimate assessment. And it's one of the reasons why I created the Supplier Diversity Training Institute. When you think about the path to a career in supplier diversity, there's no real career path. Most people don't go to college and say, hey, I want to major in supplier diversity. It's kind of one of those functions that you fall into by happenstance in your organization. And so because of that, there's no background for it. There's no training ground for it. And so you end up with on-the-job training, if you will. You go into outside conferences and networking events and getting information from other people, but there's really no real testing or training ground for that skill. And so what ends up happening is just as you said, they have these go to our vendor portal, register as a vendor. And as a small business, you're thinking you're magically going to get all these contract opportunities, but that doesn't happen. And so it really depends on the supplier diversity professional to ensure that they're creating opportunities with their programs.
I see. So in your business, I know that you previously were a supplier diversity manager, but now you're on the other side of the table helping people figure out, how to navigate, government and institutional organizations? How do you do that?
Well, so I'm actually on both sides of the coin, if you will. As a practitioner, I'm still working on that side. I work with corporations and agencies that are looking to develop a supplier diversity program or looking for supplier diversity training. But I'm also a small business as a vendor. And so I'm going after contract opportunities just like other businesses. And I specifically talk about how to help businesses develop that institutional acquisition strategy, how to navigate these waters so that you can do business with organizations. How do you scale and grow? And the only way to quickly do that is with contracts.
Love it, love it. All right, tell me this. What
Yes, sir.
is the best business advice you have ever been given?
I would have to say trust yourself. And it took me a really long time to get to that point where I trusted myself and I believed in myself and really just went for it on my own. Kind of always had that excuse and held myself back, but trust yourself. At least give yourself that opportunity to go for it at least one time. If it doesn't work out, you can always go back and get a job. But at least one time in your life, trust yourself and go for it.
I love it. I love it. The world is still waiting on a better mousetrap. And if
Always.
you build that mousetrap, the world will beat a path to your door no matter where your door is. And that's true today as it was 18 months ago, 15 months ago, last week, today, this afternoon. It's all still true. Now,
building a better mousetrap and finding a better customer, hopefully selling it to an institution.
That's right. Find a customer with
getting the contract to supply a bunch of mousetraps. We want contracts. We don't want to sell one. We want to sell a bunch of them.
No, that's right. I love it. I love it. All right, Kathey, thank you so much for being here. Don't go away. I'm about to bring back our other two guests for tonight, and we're going to have a little fun. We're going to do something that I call the Hit It and Quit It panel. So right now, I want to invite back Scott Jeffrey Miller and Jane Bolin, and we are all going to talk about these things that should be commonplace, but might not be so common. Now, I'm going to ask each of you the same question. And here's the deal. You have to be brief, 30 seconds or less, and you cannot repeat someone else's answer. If you repeat someone else's answer, I'm going to give you the cowbell. So don't get the cowbell. I want you guys to all just be open. This is going to be fun, and we're going to have a good time. So, Scott, since you've been waiting the longest, I'm coming to you first. Then I'm going to come to you, Jane, and then Kathey, you're going to be third, and so on and so on. Each time I'll tell you who I'm about to come to. So the very first question I have for you, Scott, is what is your favorite podcast? What is your favorite podcast?
I want to say my own because I want to promote my own podcast, but that seems kind of self-serving. I tell you, I'm a big fan of Dave Hollis, right? You probably know him as Rachel Hollis's former husband. And Dave's got a great podcast. So anything that Dave Hollis puts out, I'm a raving fan. His books, his coaching, his conferences, and his podcast also.
All right. Well, I'm going to have to check him out because I haven't heard his podcast. All right, Jane, what is your favorite podcast?
I love Bulletproof Radio. So A State of High Performance with Dave Asprey. I think it's amazing. All about biohacking yourself. I love it.
I like that. What is it called again? What is it?
Bulletproof Radio.
Bulletproof Radio. All right. That sounds really, really good. And Kathey, what is your favorite podcast?
I'm going to be the loser here. I don't have time to listen to podcasts, but I'm going to listen to all of the podcasts. I'm going to listen to Scott's. I'm going to listen to Jane's recommendation and your other recommendation, Scott. I'm the slacker here. I'm sorry.
You're taking the time to think because thinking is a legitimate business opportunity.
I wrote that down when I'm in my car. That's what I'm doing. That's my time to think and strategize. So I wrote that down.
All right. Now I'm gonna come to you, Jane, next, and then Kathey, and then Scott. All right. So my next question is, what is your favorite business app? What is your
favorite business app? Is a new one. It's called Kahoot. and it allows you to do on the fly surveys and to like really deal with teams and have people give results while you're giving a talk or doing a meeting, and it's super easy, and I love it.
Kahoot. That's cool. I haven't heard of that one. All right, Kathey, what's your favorite business app?
I would say right now it has to be Calendly. I live and die by my calendar, and I'm that person with two phones, which I hate, and just being able to do that and have Zooms and stuff when I'm in my car, when I'm traveling or on the go. Just my calendar is everything. So it's the lifeblood of my organization, Calendly, right now.
I believe that. And Scott, what's your favorite business app?
I'm embarrassed to admit this, but I'm kind of late to the party on Slack. So I've just recently gotten Slack on my phone, and it's just, I resisted as long as I could, because with Facebook messaging and LinkedIn and all my email accounts, I did not need one more, but one of my publishers has insisted on it. So I'm kind of liking and enjoying living a little bit large in Slack these days.
All right, good stuff. All right, my next question, Kathey, I'm coming to you first this time, then Scott, then Jane. All right, what is your favorite old school marketing tip?
I'm old school in that, and Scott, you'll appreciate this. When I started my career, we all got Franklin Covey planners. That was kind of I started my career in marketing. We all got planners, and that was, you took your planner with you every meeting, everywhere you went. You got called into the director's office, you had your planner to write down notes. So my old school tip is be prepared, write down your notes. And so when I had my assistants and my team, when they came to my office, where's your notepad? You need a note. You have to bring in some notes. You have to, do I need anything? Always be prepared, just in case I say something and you won't be asking me, oh, I don't remember what you said. Always have your notes. So writing down those notes, always have my notepad. That's my tip.
All right, good stuff. Scott, what about you?
Melinda, I think that email has hit a tipping point, not for good, but for bad, right? With the advent of all these marketing automation systems, Eloqua and HubSpot and Marketo, we're getting bombarded with email. So I really think there's a great place for old school direct mail, that it has a complement in almost everybody's business, is to research the list really carefully, because post-pandemic, people may not be working at the same address that they have, listed somewhere. But I think with the right offer, the right creative, and the right list, that direct mail can be a perfect component to almost anybody's marketing strategy. I mean, I get, 1,000 emails a day across all my accounts. I get 9 pieces of mail downstairs in the box out front, and I look at it all every single day.
I completely agree. Jane, what's your favorite old school marketing tip?
Yeah, so I think acknowledgement matters. So you can use that as giftology, get really good at acknowledging people's big moments in life, or you can use Scott's tip and start sending letters and thanking people with a card. That stuff makes a difference, no doubt about it.
I completely agree with you. I believe in cards for everyone in my life. So I agree. People like to be appreciated. Love it. All right. Last question, guys. And Scott, I'm coming to you first, and then Jane, and then Kathey. What's your favorite business book you've ever read?
I think I mentioned this when I was on your show a year ago. Liz Wiseman was a senior HR leader at Oracle for 18 years. She wrote a book called Multipliers. I personally think it's the best leadership book ever written. The premise of the book is that all of us are accidentally diminishing people. It's normal. And the more we can be aware of which of the 9 axle diminisher tendencies we have, the more we can move to become more of a multiplier. Their premise is that your job is not to be the genius, but rather the genius maker of others. So I highly recommend the book Multipliers for leaders of people.
Love it. All right. Jane, what's your favorite book?
Sure. The best business book is The 3 Laws of Performance by Steve Zaffron. Not widely known, and I would highly recommend it. It is really around the idea that integrity is like the foundation that then creates workability, which then creates performance. So if you want to improve your performance, don't worry about all the doing, worry about who you're being. And I think it's incredible. So love to share that with everyone.
I love that book. That sounds like a great book to read. Kathey, what's your favorite business book?
Well, I don't know about my favorite, but we get a lot of books, and I barely have time to read. But the one that I'm reading right now that I'm really into is Start With Why by Simon Sinek, and just thinking. So using this in my coaching, and this is one of the things that a lot of businesses ask about is their people. Their biggest issue is their people and how to get them on board and all of that. And they're trying to figure out how to create something or say something that resonates with them. And so we talk about this book a lot.
I like it. I like it. That's a great book by Simon Sinek. And of course, my favorite book is Disrupt You by Jay Samit. It's one of my favorite books. I read it a year and a half ago, and I bought like probably 50 copies and given them to people, because what he believes is that if you want to disrupt the world, start by disrupting yourself. Amen. I love it. All right, listen, this has been awesome. Thank you so much to my guest, prolific author and marketing expert, Scott Miller. Everyone needs to get his new book, Marketing Myths to Brand Success. And I would like to thank Mayor Jane Bolin and she and her business for being here with us tonight. And of course, business expert Kathey Porter. Be sure to check out her course, businessfabacademy.com. Thank you all for joining me for this episode of the Small Biz Chat podcast. If you want to know more about how to start and grow your small business, head over to Small Biz Lady University and sign up for my course, How to Sell and Market Online, to get your business going in the right direction. Thank you all for being here with me tonight. The mission of Small Biz Chat is to end small business failure. I'm Melinda Emerson, the Small Biz Lady, your host. Till next time, remember this: you never lose in business. Either you win or you learn. God bless everybody.